Are you ready for spring? I know I am, but we can't get out there yet to get in our gardens because for one, it's just been too wet. So what are we going to do while we're waiting to get outside to work in our gardens? Today, I'm here with Dana Cook, and she's working inside the greenhouse, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does during those months when we're just sitting around waiting and waiting, okay? Dana, can you tell us when exactly you start for your season?
Well, we start pretty early. We start planting in the year before, like in May. I'm ordering my ferns for the following year. But as far as getting the ball rolling, January, start my geraniums. And then after that, the season has started, and we start getting plugs in the middle of January all the way through April.
When those plugs come in, you're talking about a little tiny plant, right?
Yes, they anywhere from a 288 size, which is a little bitty plug, which we will talk about later. And then there is a lot, some 72s, some 50s. The bigger the number, the smaller plug they come in.
So when these plugs come in, I guess they deliver them on a truck, and then you have to figure out what to do with all of that?
Yes. They're usually brought in by FedEx or UPS, and the first thing we like to do is, we want to make sure we unbox them and make sure they're inside, which most of the time our truck drivers are pretty good about greenhouse plants on the boxes. We need to unbox them as soon as we can, and inspect them and check for all shortages and get them all sorted. And I usually like to see them set and get acclimated to the temperature of the greenhouse before we rush into setting them out, which is usually within 24 hours.
Ooh, that's a fast turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah. So
do you have, when they come in like that from FedEx or wherever when they're delivered, do you have to check them for insects or anything like that, or are they guaranteed to come clean when you get them?
We do, but 99% of the time they come clean. They're usually inspected before they're sent out in those places. Mainly, I'm looking for damages, or it's amazing how the plants will come in upside down and throw. You can only imagine. And so, just getting them all sorted with the tags, with the right plant.
So you're looking at whether it's broken off or if it's got any dry area.
Right. And some of the
healthy plants.
Right. And I want to water them and get them when I get them in there to make sure they're
okay.
Yeah.
When they come, when you order your stuff, can you space it out so that you only get so much orders at this week, and then another order's not going to arrive till the next week, or do you just get them when you get them?
No, that's the hardest part, is getting them in at the right time. That it's going to take X amount of weeks for this plant to finish. The tomato plant, you're looking at a finish time as far as planting to selling 7 to 8 weeks. On flowers, it varies. Like in the geraniums, like I said, I start them in January and sell them the 1st of April. Usually the plant will give you some enough culture in the catalogs, and the salespeople will help you with planting that. The hardest part is Mother Nature. Spring's like, it seems like spring is here now, but obviously it's not.
We know that's not true.
It's hard for people, to not want to buy, but it's you just want to wait till this time.
And when you're getting all these plants in and you're getting everything ready, I can imagine the kind of bookkeeping you're doing to keep track of stuff. And I noticed in some of the areas in the greenhouse, you've got little markers in there to identify the plant. How do you keep track of when that plant came in to know how old it is?
Keeping good records is so important. For next year, not necessarily this year. It's like, certain plants, they needed more time, or some of them got way too big before I could, get rid of them. So I would, back that plant up as far as getting it in stock.
So I could just see you running around with a notebook
Yeah.
and a pencil
Yeah.
and writing things down all the time. Is that part of what you're doing in March and February, March, while we're out here doing nothing?
Yeah, a lot of inspecting. A lot of I walk around every greenhouse every night for the next day. Of course, then every morning, that way I can say, well, this particular plant here is ready to be watered. Not everything is on the same schedule. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the hardest part about the greenhouse.
And I guess that gives your work crew what they're
Yes.
going to be doing for the next day.
Yes.
So there's a lot of management that's going on in
Yes.
all of this, isn't it?
That's the hardest.
Okay, and then the other thing that we're talking about might be the difference between what we're doing at home and what you're doing here, because you have fertilize that you have to do for a whole lot of plants, or water that you have to do for a whole lot of plants. And I noticed you have a fertilizer system back here.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known what that was if you hadn't told me what it was. How
Yeah.
does that work?
This is each greenhouse has a fertilizer injector, which all the fertilizer is mixed, and then each greenhouse has its own. So every time this plant gets watered, it's also getting fertilized.
It seems like an enormous amount of work. And then when I look around and I see, this is just one greenhouse, and I see work all the way around, and I'm thinking that's true for every one of the greenhouses that you've got here. So my big question to you is, why in the world would somebody want to do this?
People, it's so much therapy to so many people now, and it's a joy to see the smile on people's faces when they walk in, or just to see what a fern, how it can make them so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And in gardening, like I said, people love to garden, and it's just satisfying.
So,
and to be able to see a finished product
Yeah.
and somebody else happy.
so you're out here doing all this work, and part of it is to make all of us happy, but the other part is it makes the
Yeah.
greenhouse
Oh my gosh,
growers really happy
Yeah.
too. So I guess you all are a fun bunch to be around.
Well, sometimes.
Okay, thanks for joining us today in the greenhouse. Remember your greenhouse workers when you get ready to go out and purchase your plants this spring.